So, right.
All right, here we are. We are live now. Let me just quickly send this link to my parents so they can know that I made it. Cool. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Language Server Sync, September 14th. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we start recording these also more diligently, because with Tristan being on the other side of the world, it's very useful for him to be able to catch up on recordings and also not just meeting notes. So that's why this is important as well. The time of the meeting, I have kind of mixed thoughts about this. So obviously right now, there's no way Tristan could attend because it's like 3 a.m. for him. We could probably find a time either very early for us, especially for you, Andre. But maybe it's okay starting next week because you start phasing out anyway. But that could be a solution. So I meet Tristan at 9 a.m. my time usually. Oh, but here's another problem. The summertime is going to start at his place as well. Anyway, long story short, I'm not sure yet what we're going to do. We might anyway consolidate all the team meetings into a single one pretty soon. So I'm kind of like on the fence a bit here. And I think for now, maybe we keep it like this and I try async to find a better time altogether.
So I wanted to ask, has Tristan ever met Lena? Paul, for this language server part, or has it been asynchronous so far?
No, it's all asynchronous, but I think as far as I know, I was able to help him wherever he asked questions, but we worked before on the monitor team, so I know Tristan.
You don't.
Yeah.
All right,
but
cool. Then that's
didn't
fine.
think.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach for us. So if we're just about to change the meetings anyway, might as well just keep it this way. Keep it.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Lena, you have the next point then on the agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update on the telemetry. This MR was like huge. So we like changed a couple of things not related to telemetry, but I've just merged because I got the approval from Shakar and Marshall and Aaron. So I guess it's okay. We still have a couple of things to improve, and I decided that we'll proceed with the merge because it's getting very big, and there is like some improvements that needs to be done about the context that we track with the Snowplow, but it's mainly about how clients want or can send this data to us. So it's more like a common decision how they want to do it, and I'll just like change it or not change it if it's already implemented in the ways that suits everyone.
Great job. I was looking at the size of the MR. Is that 200 lines file? Is that the like lightweight client that they wrote for VS Code? Or is it something that was adapted
we have
for
this
language?
ZMR was merged separately as the library. Yeah, I planned to extract it to the NPM package so that it's a separate project, but like I didn't get to it, so I thought I will have more time. But there is a lot of discussion back and forth, so I'll do it at some point. But it still lives there in the language server.
Got it. This is really good. Good milestone to go. You have some notes here. So what's missing exactly? Follow-up.
So it's like I pinged you, but like the first MR as the first issue you probably already seen, because I think you both responded. So there is an issue with the language ID field that should be tracked in the code suggestion context. So it wasn't clear like what the Snowplow expects. Like apparently it has to be consistent, and I found the library that decides what's the language of what the programming language is based on the extension. It has this mapping, and like it's a huge mapping. So like there was no point to support my own mapping. But apparently the VS Code has like the list of values, and the LSP recommends some list of values, and the VS Code extension like does support this out of the box because the VS Code language client supports it out of the box. So we'll have to align here like who who sets this language ID. And I think we are aligned at this point that clients have to do this because they have more ability to detect the language. The server does not know how to analyze besides based on the extension of the file. So I would expect from the clients to provide this field and just will track it. Remove the libraries that are used in CMR and just will like rely on the clients to provide this field. So I guess.
And so does that mean, so, because I'll admit I've been, I don't think I reacted to this thread yet, so I do mean to read up on it, but so it means we need to make sure that all clients consistently kind of at least use the same, I think the main thing is about literally how they call the language, right? Like not so much about how accurately maybe they detect the files, but really like if you say Java needs to be _Java or whatever, right? It's really about it being consistent. So
yeah, that's about being consistent, and the list is defined in the LSP protocol, but it also has to do about what our code suggestions servers support. So we will have to, I don't know, to decide what is this list, and like every client will have to send this value so that it can be consistently tracked in this Snowplow.
Okay, so this is like getting that gold list of like, these are the values we want. This is still to be determined then.
Yes, we will have to find this intersection between the what code suggestions support and what the LSP recommends. But I guess what LSP recommends doesn't really matter much. So it's.
Thanks. And the other one is the IDE part, right? Of the context.
Yeah, it's the other one is the IDE part, and like there was a lot of back and forth. So my understanding is that we decided that the client info is the extension info, so it's extension name and extension version. With the Snowplow, we need to track ID, name, version, vendor, and the extension name and version. So currently in the LSP server, I expect the clients to provide the extension info in the client field, and the client info is like part of the LSP protocol, so it's defined. And one of okay, let me start over. Like my original intention was just to ask the clients to provide like custom fields, ID and extension, like custom parameters. But we talked with Marshall, he reviewed MatMR, and he said that there is already client info, and as our client is the extension, so I decided that the extension would provide its name and version in the client info. But like then the final comment was that most of the IDs provide the ID data in this client info field. So it's kind of the language server is asking the clients to override this data with the custom extension name and to provide ID info additionally. So the problem is not actually like the implementation, but again, to decide what is more convenient for the clients and to align somehow what we send where, because up to this point, I thought the client info is the extension because the LSP client is the extension. But if like there is some like out of the box implementations that most of the IDEs that support the LSP like provide, it makes sense to leverage that. I've created an issue for that and ask all extension developers to respond what they think, and I will implement the LSP based on that, or change or not change it based on that.
Okay. I was trying to think because we have to keep thinking about the users that are using, you know, Sublime Text now integrated with language server directly by having our own extension. We still want to capture them somehow. So eventually we can have some default like values that are not overridden if they don't provide those options, but all of our extensions should provide those options specifically broken down from telemetry. But if they don't, if they are not provided, we could, right, and just like use the default somehow, and then use it like eventually to to distinguish. But yeah, okay. So basically, do you need anything from us at this point, or is it just like for like everybody just coming together?
Just like if you like respond in the issue, what you think about like how we should proceed, it would be very helpful. So we can align how it's better to be done, because it's like has pros and cons on both sides. So I guess it's the easiest way would be like to have a custom fields, but for myself. But I guess
Yeah,
that would be
custom
other
fields to me
clients
sounds
that-
good.
Mhm, mhm. Just let me know what you think in the issues.
Yep,
Sounds
I'll leave a
good.
comment. So I had a question for the telemetry. What's the status on the UID? And so custom context, I guess that's the bits missing at the moment, because that's why you're gonna be building. But what's the status on the UID for each request and for suggestion? Is that tracked in the clients? What's the, we discussed this about what the status is.
I think we do track there is a unique ID. It is generated on the server side, like when the client makes a request for the it's called on completion request. It's a completion request. So we generate this unique ID. We track like 3 events with it. Then like when the call suggestions are returned, there is this custom field where we can provide custom data. So basically this unique ID is added to every suggestion. Because like apart from that, there is no other place where we can send this unique tracking ID. Because once we return the data from the language server, like we don't like there is no way to connect like this requested suggestion with like the future code suggestion lifecycle.
So the clients receive a UID and then they have to send it with the events.
Yes, they will have to send it.
Makes sense. That's what makes sense. Yeah.
Well,
And then the custom context, they're kind of like partial at the moment, like we only have parts of it, or
sorry.
is it the contexts?
Mhm.
Do you have some of it implemented already, and we're missing the ID section and the language ID, or is it nothing is implemented yet?
We already have the context, both context, the code suggestion context and client context already implemented. So, but where we take this data from might change depending on the discussion in those 2 issues.
So I feel like after these 2 issues,
Mhm.
telemetry is ready to be used.
Yes, if anything changes, it might be already ready at this point, but we don't know what the outcome of those 2 issues will be. So
Let me rephrase it. So to definitely speed up those 2 issues. Once those 2 are in, we should be good to go to test and to double check if everything's fine. But it looks like we have a pretty complete implementation already. Did you implement the 7 event hooks? Like all the 7 events are supported?
yes,
That's
yeah.
fantastic. Some of the libraries are not going to be able to implement them.
Mhm.
The ones we saw with JetBrains that had some struggles, they're not integrating yet. The language service should be fine. But the fact that we have all the events is great. So
Mhm.
amazing job. So very happy with the progress. Good stuff.
Thank you. It's like the small things that like, I don't know, postpone all of this, like figuring out like where is this like unique ID sent. It's like because the language server protocol does not like define this, and it's or the language
yeah.
ID. So it's like a small thing, but like it takes.
It's always the details. It's always
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for the perseverance there. I know that it is gonna be frustrating, all these discussions and like things moving slow a bit sometimes, but
Mhm.
progress has been really nice to see. Great stuff.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. Thank you.
Any questions from your side on the telemetry? Is it clear?
No, this makes sense. The only non-question is that I'll look at the issues and see if I have valuable thoughts to share there. So thank you for that. I added another point here, which is just FYI. I was chatting with Tristan this morning, his evening, and he'll be picking up one of the request improvements issues that Lina, you mentioned in the onboarding thread, the one about not requesting when there isn't enough content. Yeah, so that feels like a good onboarding issue, because even if the change itself could be hopefully rather simple, at least it kind of makes it so that he needs to have a full working dev environment, being able to navigate the code, find where anything to change, validate it, test it, all of that. And it's part of our kind of top priorities now, getting that request rate down. So this feels like a good pick for sure. So thanks for highlighting that one. Yeah, that's all.
Yes, that's good. As far as I know, Tristan was able to to see the code suggestions from the language server in the test client. So he has the environment set up. That's good.
Yeah, it seems to be in a good shape. So not worried either. Yeah.
So it's the most difficult part. So once you have set it up, so you'll be able to do things.
Cool. I think that's it then. Anything else to add to the agenda and discuss?
I wanted to double check one thing. We talked about the exit criteria for tomorrow, right? So when you'll be released, I've told Sam about the timing. We're expecting the end of 16.6 for the time that you get released from our tomorrow.
Could you
The
repeat?
question was,
It's like the connection is very bad. So
no, I apologize.
Yeah,
We're in a coffee shop.
No.
See if I'm on the road break. I think I'm on. So what I was asking is, so I think we've talked about when you will be released from the borrow, the end of 16.6. That's the plan. But we are looking for permanent maintainers for the projects. So do you think you'd be willing to remain as maintainer after you go back to your team?
Yeah, I'll be happy to, as long as you can. Is there like we talked about the GA? Is the GA the point when we hit the 20%?
30.
30. Okay.
30.
Make it 50.
Okay. So I'm stuck forever.
So yeah,
I don't enjoy it. It's like
we're at 5% right now. So it's not all about the language so right? So these are the improvements that Francois mentioned that Tristan is going to be looking into. Wait, sorry. I don't know if that's the issue. Right. So these kinds of issues of not requesting things when it doesn't make sense will improve the acceptance rate from the perspective of not making the suggestion request when it makes sense. That's where you have some involvement, but a lot of other involvement is improving the quality of the model and having some other stuff work on the back. It's not all going to be you or the language server to be affecting that metric. Whatever happened, I think at the end of 16.6, Tristan will already be onboarded and we will be able to take it on. Mike had that exact point. I mean, it looks like we'll be here in a year trying to get to that target. So we're definitely targeting like this quarter. That's our idea. And with these suggestions, improvements, these improvements of not making the call, I think we'll get in a very good spot once we have them all implemented. Then we'll have to build, measure, learn our way through this thing where we have to find ideas to do better. There's also the team of model evaluation. They're doing a bunch of research about what works, what doesn't work. They will come up with guidance for us. That's why we need someone like you, very experienced in the code base, in case we need to implement something very quickly to test it. It would be very useful to have you close by. But as time progresses, we can rely on interest. And so I think 16.6 is a realistic time.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay and contribute. But I know you have a lot of stuff on foundation.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering how are we going to test the telemetry from the to test that the language server implements like telemetry correctly. Like how is it going to happen? I mean, I test locally.
Sure. I was thinking production. I was thinking just launch it and just see if so that's the thing. Like we're aware that when we turn on the live production environment hookups,
Mhm.
there might be some problems, but we should minimize the impact, make sure that it's tested thoroughly,
Mhm.
and then react quickly. So when they did the VS Code implementation for
Mhm.
Snowplow, they had some
Mhm.
issues over the first couple of days. So we knew that the data for those days are not
Mhm.
very trustworthy. But as
Yeah.
long as it stabilizes very quickly, it's fine because we'll be able to just tell the people that are looking at the numbers, hey, some issues
Okay.
here.
Mhm.
It's just the most efficient way. As long as we have a solid confidence that we tested it locally and it should be fine.
Mhm.
I think there's also people talking about the end-to-end tests that
Yeah.
we have in flight to like prepare that a bit better testing, but I would block telemetry launch to have that.
Do we have like because I know how it feels like to have like, oh, I've tested it locally myself and I feel good about it, but it's always better when someone else also does that. Do we, like, for example, if I wanted to test telemetry, do I need the full developer setup, which I intend to do anyway at some point, but it's just time consuming? Or like, is there somewhere described like how would we go about to test that? Because I'm happy to be an extra pair of eyes as well, like literally trying to look and see how it works for me. Like, is
Great
it documented
exercise for
somewhere?
Tristan. The great
yeah,
exercise for Tristan, and you
Yeah,
can sit with him and double check that he gets acquainted with the code base. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Given that the telemetry MR was merged, like a big one, but we have this like, so the release kind of was triggered because like there were breaking changes, we added a new feature, but there are these two small issues that we need to figure out. Should I announce that the clients can start integration, or should I announce that they can start integration after we decide on these 2 points, like language and client thing?
So I'm thinking that since it affects the way that they have to pass the information,
Mhm.
you can let them know, hey, the MR is merged, there's a new release, we still have these 2 issues pending.
Mhm.
Up to you. It's really up to them. Because I know that Mike already has the moments already defined. He already found the parts of the code base, just hooking them on very
Mhm.
quickly.
Yes.
The parts where he has to provide the information is probably always going to have to scramble a bit more.
Mhm.
He can start doing that in an MR as long as he doesn't publish that, but that's up to them really.
Mhm.
Yeah, let them know. This was exactly the situation. We have the MR merge, new release. There's still these 2 issues missing for the full telemetry feature completeness. Up to you to when to start integrating.
Mhm. Okay, and who should I ping? Because like Mike for Visual Studio, for VS Code with Shikar or Marshall, right? And Aaron for NeoVim. And
We should get a notification user group on Slack. So because that's the thing, we won't always have language server updates, right? Maybe we can discuss it later today on the weekly. See what they think would be a good way. I think a Slack user group, like language server updates, or a Slack channel for language server updates.
I mean,
Would be
the
just,
language server Slack
notification.
channel has just 20 people. Can
Okay.
we adhere it? I don't
Yeah.
know. I know people feel a bit weird about that sometimes, but like, I don't know. I would be okay with that. It's
post
just-
the channel like without pinning anyone. So I guess.
Stuck on the weekly because we don't want to scare people away from being on the channel. If we get too many pings, they
Fair,
might
fair.
get away.
Okay, fine.
Let's discuss it and see what's the best day. I have a couple of ideas, but I don't know what other people think about it. So let's discuss later.
Mhm.
Great point. But yes, so to your question right now, yeah, tag them all individually. Don't be blocked by that decision. Mike, Aaron, and that's it. Yes, code is not included yet, so yeah, at least Mike and Aaron.
Mike and Aaron. Okay.
Yeah.
And VS Code. You should.
So that it's still not integrated yet, but it would be Marshall, I think,
Mhm.
and then Kai, the usual suspects.
Okay.
Just let them know about the cases. But the major thing is the ones that are integrated today, Aaron and Mike getting to it.
yes, that's.
Because Ross is already rolling back his bar this week, so next week he'll not be here anymore. Well, he'll be here, but he'll be in his team. So Ross is going back, and then Gabriel from Jeffrey is also going to his team. They're
Mhm.
starting to roll back to the teams now. So yeah, but Mike is staying behind, and Aaron is the Neovim guy. So yeah, tag them both at least.
Okay, thanks.
Lena, great update. Great progress.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that.
So dragging like for a week already. So it's like nothing happening much. It's like back and forth, but thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks for that. Cool. Anything
All
else?
Not from my side. Okay,
See you
folks,
later.
thanks a lot. Talk to you later.